So, having been a standout basketball player, do you follow any other sports outside of boxing?
Uh, Man, I don't know. Watching basketball nowadays, that I don't play it, and I regret kind of not pursuing it the way that I probably should have. It frustrates me to watch it a little bit. But I am an avid golfer. Uh, I golf any chance that I get, and I watch that a lot outside of boxing.
Okay, good deal. Who's your favorite golfer?
Man, I'm a Tiger Woods fan, even though he's
Oh, me
old
too.
and he's about out. Aside from that, I like me some Rory.
Okay,
He's pretty dang
okay,
good.
I like it. Yeah, he is, and yeah, when Tiger won in the Masters in '19, that was unreal. The eyes he brings to the sport is just crazy.
It's almost a little witchy, man. I don't know. Some of the stuff he can do with a golf ball and a golf club
Yeah,
just doesn't seem natural.
straight up magical. I mean, and then he's a total rock star. I mean, when he won the Masters in '19, after everything he's been through, the crowd behind him, like on 18, was just absurd.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but no, I'm with you. I like it. I like Tiger. I like all the old golfers. I always get fired up seeing like Phil or whoever do well.
Oh yeah.
Um,
It's a classy sport, and I respect it because I play it so much, and I know how challenging it is. So for
cool.
someone to be that good at it, it's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. So we've talked about you not having the same amount of experience as some of your peers because they've been boxing since they were like 5 years old. They have the amateur career. Um, but I just had on another boxer a few weeks ago named Cornelius K9 Bundridge, and he got into boxing late as well, and he became the oldest junior middleweight champion ever. And he credits that a lot to not having a great amateur background. He had less than 10 amateur fights, and he had phenomenal longevity, like becoming world champion at age 41. Do you think you not having as many, miles on the tires and not taking as much punishment as some of your peers could end up helping you in the long run?
Definitely. That's the question to a lot of the trainers have is how many amateur fights have you had? How many wars have you been in? What have you put your body through already?
Mm,
I did escape a lot of that. I didn't ever have to cut any weight because I started out as a heavyweight, so I didn't have to go through years and years of trying to make a specific weight and fight multiple times in one day at these national tournaments where these amateurs are they're fighting their ass off with the hope
oh
of
yeah,
going to the Olympics and for free. So
yeah.
that was another main reason why I decided to go straight pros because I had a guy standing there telling me, you're a little older for the
Hmm.
for the amateurs and going to the Olympics. Only going to get. We'll do this test run. If you got it, we'll make you some money while you're learning.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was like, hell, that sounds great. But back to what you said, I definitely agree with that outlook on it because I feel like me avoiding and not having to go through 8 years before 8 years of professional
Hmm.
fighting. I feel like I might have a little bit more, and I'm not beat up.
Yeah. Yeah. And how long do you want to stay in the sport? Talking about longevity.
Oh well, it definitely depends. I have my own personal goals, um, and I only have so many years left. I'm 32 years old right now. I don't want to be fighting past 35. But I think that I'm right now between 32 and 35. I'm in the prime of my life, and
Okay.
if I treat my body right and I make the right decisions and I do the right things, I think that I have a good chance to make quite a bit of money and take care of my family.
Yeah. So, well, saying that you don't want to go past 35. So now I was going to ask you about this. Now is really the time to make a push for those boxing goals. Like now you've got some experience under your belt. You just stepped up in competition against Asim Rockman. Is now kind of it's now or never kind of mindset right now.
Man, this is one last good hard push, for the next 3 years, and just see where I can take myself, and with the team that I have, and hopefully the goals that we have set that that's going to be in the foreseen future. Maybe it doesn't take 3 more years. Who knows?
So let's talk about your last fight against Asim Rockman Jr. at the Sons of Legends event this past April. It looked like you got more comfortable as the fight went on. Was that a lot of just getting the nerves out of the way and settling into the match?
Yeah. Um, it was that whole thing was a big deal for me because I drove out there and drove all the way out there, and then I was there 4 or 5 days before, and I just kind of broke a sweat a little bit here and there, and I really didn't even pay any attention to the elevation change from being in swampy old Arkansas to Las Vegas, Nevada, in the dry air, and but as the fight started, I was really amped up and overwhelmed, and I was having a hard time slowing down and try to get in the game plan. And in my mind, he was trying to box me, and he was trying to move, be defensive, and then counter me. And it was hard for me to box a boxer. So in my mind, I was kind of going against my team, and I was just trying to bang it out and hope that I could eventually wear him down enough to eventually stop him. But then I didn't, like I said, I didn't take into account the elevation, and I kind of got my lungs stretched a little bit. My mouth was open, and I kind of got caught standing right in front of him, taking his shots just to give some of mine. So it was all in all, it was a learning experience for me, learning how to deal with those nerves, learning how to travel, learning how not to be the favorite, and adapting to these things that I got to adapt to and overcome them, and then just ultimately learning. I feel like I took a lot away from that fight that's going to make me better in my next one.
Absolutely. And talking about not being the favorite, I just got to throw this in there. Did you watch the fight back and listen to the commentary?
Oh man, it's horrible. They hated me.
Oh, it was unreal. They weren't even subtle about it. They were so biased against you. They made it sound like you just got off the couch and showed up for the fight. Like they were saying, "Oh yeah, Rockman's just peppering him up right now. He's gonna finish him later. He's just easing it into it." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" It was unreal. The bias was in there. They wanted Rockman.
It was horrible. I was actually just talking to my trainer about that the other day because we were talking about that fight. And I was like, man, if those commentators would have just showed a little bit more love, maybe I'd have got a little bit more popular, but it was almost like I was just, a dog.
Yeah.
A dog kind of.
It was ridiculous. Well, I'm glad you got to shut him up, though, because they were like, oh, he's not going to be able to last long. Well, boom, you lasted 5 rounds and you knocked out Rockman in the 5th round, so you got to silence the critics there. Yeah. In very short notice. It was just a few minutes later you got to silence them, so that was very cool. And yeah, so watching the fight, it really looked like Rockman was throwing a ton of jabs, and in those first few rounds, he was landing those jabs, and you were landing a decent amount of power punches too. What kind of damage were those jabs doing to you, if any?
Well, I mean, I could obviously feel them, but it wasn't enough that I was just afraid. I wasn't super afraid of him because he was kind of throwing those as setup jabs. To set up a right hand or a left hand, whichever way he was facing at the time. He was kind of switching up a little bit.
Yeah.
And my whole game plan was kind of to throw while he was throwing. That's we were supposed to box a little bit more than we did, but also throw while he was throwing because people are vulnerable a lot of times whenever they're throwing punches. And if you have good enough defense, you can throw while they're throwing, or you're tough enough to take their punches while you're letting yours go. That tends to work out. But